Making your way in the world today takes everything you got. Taking a break from all your worries sure would help a lot. Wouldn't you like to get away? Sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, all those nights when you got no lights and the check is in the mail, and your little angel on the countered by its tail. Your third fiance didn't show. Well, sometimes you wanna go where everybody knows your name, and you're always glad they came. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. Well, you get out of bed and the coffee's dead. The morning isn't looking bright. You shrink right off to Europe and he doesn't even write. Your girlfriend says she's not a girl. Be glad there's one place in the world where everybody
Did you just say
knows
your
your
girlfriend
name,
said she's not a girl?
and they're always glad
Did
you
you just say
came.
your girlfriend? Oh, echo.
You
She's not a
wanna be
girl.
where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name. You wanna be where you can see troubles are all the same. You wanna go where everybody knows your name.
All right, and welcome to Proverbs Guys Ministries, where everybody knows your name. And when you're here, you're family. Not quite like Carrabba's, because we're not going to stick you with a bill at the end of it. Achilles, my brother, you are muted. So we'll give him a moment to sort that out, because I really don't think I can unmute Achilles. Maybe I can.
Yep.
Hey!
No. I remained muted because I had an echo and I didn't know where it was coming from, but I found it. So, all good.
How many microphones did you have running through?
4.
4 microphones, man.
Audio inception. No, I just
Yeah,
had it. I had the YouTube open because when I saw that you were going live, I opened it up as I'm cleaning and I'm doing what I told you I'm doing, and I forgot that I have it open. So here, that was. So hello everybody, how are you doing? How's your day or night?
The link is pinned in the chat as always. So if you guys want to join the panel, you're welcome to. And whatever happened to predictability? The Milkman, the Paperboy, the Evening TV. Yeah, that was a good one too. I guess we're just all sticking to theme songs from shows we grew up on now.
That was actually a nice song. Was that in the lyrics?
The lyrics I just quoted.
Yeah, what Christian put up.
Yeah, I believe that's from Full House. Whatever happened to predictability?
Full
The
House.
Milkman, the Paperboy.
You guys were not even around when Full House was playing.
Because I grew up poor, Achilles. So we were 10 years behind everybody else.
Okay, so we were on the same page.
Yeah, I grew up a lot more like a kid in the 80s, even though I was born in 89. Like, I still remember cassette tapes, and I have made women, well, I say women, but they were girls back then. I've made them the mixtapes where, hey, I'm crushing on you. And then you listen to the radio all day and catch like most of a song, but still miss the beginning because you weren't positive that was the right song.
Because you had no way of knowing, and there were like cassettes that had titles of songs behind them, but they were not the titles. Uh,
Yes.
Somebody just wrote their favorite line, and supposedly it was the title of the song. But
Yes.
I caught up with that due to my age, so I remember all that. Oh, oh,
Wow.
who do we have
Okay.
here? Okay, okay. Are you gonna fix
I
this? You're muted, sister. I sent you an unmute request. I don't know if that works. Hi.
okay, add a new layer. This is just going to take us a second, guys. I'm sorry, we're village idiots.
So people are not bored. All right, here we
There
go.
we go. We got it
Uh-huh.
figured out.
Okay. Oh,
Hello.
you didn't press the transition though. There we are. Now we're here. Hello.
How are you
Echo.
guys doing?
Oh, doing good. There's no echo. Oh, you have headphones. Duh. How stupid. How dumb of me. Okay. You should teach Terry and Jamie this trick. They don't know it yet.
About what?
Having headphones when you are nearby and there's no echo with the headphones. Because when Jamie and Terry are streaming together, you get like echo, 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 echo.
Oh, you mean when they're both open at the same time?
And yeah, in the same room or in the same house.
Yeah, that could cause an issue. For sure. Right.
So, how have you guys been before we go into the subject?
Pretty good.
I thought I'd be a genius and ride a bike that was made for a 5-year-old. That wasn't too brilliant.
Uh-oh. Where does it hurt?
The better question would be where it doesn't hurt. It hurts everywhere.
You didn't crash it, did you?
The problem was not me crashing. The problem was that the leg that I broke, my mobility is not very great in that leg.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the problem.
I'm glad you didn't crash it though. So that's good. Okay, are we back to dynamic?
Just because if anybody else comes in, it's going to be extremely hard to keep adding people. And I'm not quite sure how everybody else does it so fast. I can have a few preset rooms, but I can't have one for who I can't plan as coming in, if that makes sense.
Okay. Let me see if I can put an avatar on. on our sister here.
Oh, I just did that.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I have all. Oh, I found one. Wait, because I'm sure you found a good one, but I think I found a better one. Okay, yeah, okay, no, that was good. But how's that? Oh, it even goes outside the picture. That's awesome. Crawling in my skin.
Oh, my Lanta Achilles. Is that what that is?
It's perfect.
No, Rich was not on. It was remnant, his residual self-image from the previous appearance.
Christian Pike says he saw a Neanderthal at Walmart.
Oh, they're still around. They're popping up lately.
Are they?
Yeah,
Like
they're like,
save caveman and everything?
yeah, they're like Trump, 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 Trump.
I'm married to someone who resembles a Sasquatch. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know who your husband is, but I'm gonna call him and tell him. I'd be like, boy, you need to come get your girl. So I think we can go ahead and dive in. Up front, Proverbs Guys Ministries does not have a ministry answer to this question. But the question is it possible that what we see in the Neanderthal DNA could explain or could be explained by the descendants of the Nephilim? So that's kind of what we're going to that's kind of what we're going to be getting into today. So
Okay.
I wonder who that was.
We all know who that is.
I don't know. So go ahead and vote in the poll. Do you think it's possible that Neanderthal and Nephilim are related or one and the same? I am not horribly versed on Neanderthal. Achilles is a lot more versed. My opinion is that Neanderthal could be related to Nephilim because I haven't looked into it very deeply yet. Achilles is under the assumption that I am the village idiot because he says Neanderthals. What was your explanation, Achilles? Is it that you believe they're forgeries?
Yeah,
All of
but
them?
yeah, but it's not just the Neanderthals. I think that if you look into any predecessor, quote unquote, of man, it's all fabrications. We were men and women, and before that, we were men and women. We were never closer to an ape. If we were something different, we were bigger. That could explain the giants. And that's why they're pushing the giant discoveries into the uh, fringe realm because it messes up their theory that we come from apes. So we were smaller according to the evolutionary theory, and we picked up that height that we have now. But we have made discoveries of giants, and you can find what the Bible tells us about Nephilim. You can find it all over mythologies of the world that there were giants on the earth. Like 50% of Greek mythology is about monsters, uh, huge men like the one Odysseus met, Polyphemus, who was I'm trying to find that word, Cyclops. He had one eye. And we have discovered back in the 50s a series of skulls. It wasn't just one that had only one hole on the head for eyes. So it was a cyclops. And that remained in the conspiracy theory, even though the discoveries were public. They were made by the state. Because the United States government flew into Greece to the airport that is right next to my house, which is a military airport, and they picked up all those bones, and now nobody knows where they are. So I'm saying that to say that I believe that, yes, the Nephilim existed, and our history is not what is being presented to us. They're trying to connect it to the monkey, the ape, through intermediate stages like the Neanderthal, like what's the name of the other one?
Homo
Oh
erectus.
man. Anyway, all those intermediates I think are fakes. They have found bones, they put them together, and they say, "Hey, it's a man." But individual researchers have looked into it and said that that is an ape bone, that is a human bone, but you've put them together. But nobody is listening to them because the consensus has peer-reviewed itself. So yeah, that's my. I do believe Nephilim existed. Bible is clearly showing us why God would take such a step and flood the whole world. And that's what I believe. So I don't know about the DNA of the Neanderthal. I don't know where that comes from. What was the sample? Who has that sample? How many people have looked into that sample? I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a good point. And we definitely, I don't know for sure one way or the other. That very well could be the case. And I believe most of it is forgery. Um, I certainly know that they've never found a complete specimen. I know that for sure. They'll say that we found like 300 of them, but it's 300 tiny little fragment bones of a Neanderthal, they claim. And
Yeah,
really, the only difference they found is that the bone structure is larger.
right. Which could be explained differently. Like he was way taller.
Well, it would make sense if they found it in a fossil because we were bigger before the flood. So if it was fossilized due to the flood, then yeah, it would make perfect sense. And that would also explain why it appears to be so old, even predating human history.
And I remember the name of the other specimen, but I don't remember which Homo it represents. The Nebraska man. You remember that?
Yes.
Do you remember that we only found one tooth of the Nebraska man?
Yes.
So then we drew the Nebraska man and his wife from one tooth?
Which was pretty good of us.
Yes. I mean, we're pretty good at that. And then it turned out that it was a pig tooth. But who paid attention to that, right?
No one.
So that's why I'm talking about forgeries, bro. I mean, I now see why they're doing this. They've gone the super extra mile, like the extra light year. It's not even a mile of hiding God, of hiding that the truth is the Bible. And they fabricate everything on every field just for that, just to hide the truth.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder what they would gain from it.
Yeah. What would Satan gain from making us believe we are alone in the universe? We don't have a father.
No, I understand what Satan would gain from it, but for the atheists who believe in this nonsense, I guess what I'm saying is I can't understand why they go along with it. Like, why do they so desperately want to be worthless and related to a monkey?
Because as the book of Romans reveals in chapter 10, if I recall correctly, they don't. They want to believe in that. They want to believe in the fact that there is no God, and they will jump on the bandwagon immediately because their own sinful nature will be exposed if there is a God. So
We had a conversation with Mark Reed, and I want to say you were on that one, but possibly not. But it was a conversation all about giants. And he was talking about how it's mythology and it's made up crap, blah, blah, blah. The typical thing you would expect the Mark Reeds in the world to say.
mhm.
And I pulled up pictures from when I went to Ron Wyatt's house of me holding the toe bone of a giant. I was holding Mrs. Noah's finger, and it's 7 inches long. All these bones, a thumb bone of a giant. It would make this thing at least 17 feet tall. And he said the same thing as they always do. Has it been peer reviewed? Have you sent it away for testing and analysis? And I said 3 independent scientists have examined it and confirmed from that field that this is the bone of a human being, but that they refuse to send it away for lab testing because every single time the remains of a giant go away for testing, they disappear. And then you write them like the Smithsonian and ask, hey, where are the bones of the giants I sent in? And they say, what are you talking about?
Oh,
So
we lost them.
why would
Bureaucracy.
you send it?
Bureaucracy. I'm sorry. Like, we somehow lost them. And here's another thing that has been lost, my brother. Bring it up on the screen when you're ready. Oh, got me. I got it. Echo. So, no, no echo. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So these skulls have been discovered in Kozani, Greece. Okay, not all of them are the ones that have been discovered, but this one is, and this one, these here are. Oof. So they are around 4 times the head of a human. And oh, these were found in the Philippines. Okay. And this is when they made news. And this is I'm trying to see the date, but it only says 27th of February, but it is a pretty old newspaper. 1931, they were discovered. The Greek ones, not the ones in the Philippines.
Right.
And the US government sent a C-130 aircraft and took them from Greece, and nobody knows where they are now. So
Well,
now it remains in the realm of mythology because we don't have evidence anymore. If you look deep, if you look closer here inside the skull, inside the nose, there is a number 7, like exhibit 7.
like the
You see that?
seventh one they found.
Yep.
Yep. And you can't deny that that is, without a question, a Cyclops.
And the response that I've had last time I brought this up to some people, they said, Photoshop, it's like Photoshop. And I'm like, dude, that exists in a 1931 newspaper
Before AI and before Photoshop.
before computers, before the telephone. I'm not sure about the telephone, but right. Yep.
Hello, Terry.
Hi guys.
How are you doing today?
Hello, dear Terry.
I am well.
That's good.
I thought I
You
should pop in here since I don't know. I've always had some kind of interest in the Neanderthal. I've I don't know. I'm trying to think. Read a number of books about it. or about them. Watched a lot of documentaries about them. Excuse me. And then when I was younger, I read like some of the Clan of the Cave Bear books. Got me kind of fascinated too. So there's this kind of, I don't know, I guess it's similar to Lord of the Rings for me, like this fascination with this time where there were different types of humans walking around. But I hadn't really thought about the Nephilim connection, and now I'm thinking maybe they were a hybrid, or they had Nephilim blood.
See,
Or,
that's the thing for me. If we could disprove Neanderthal, then we don't have a problem. But if Neanderthal were to be proven true, and they say that they've even been able to trace DNA of Neanderthal into modern humans, some of them test for that DNA, and they find that. So if Neanderthal was in fact existed at one point, we would need to figure out how that fits in to Adam and Eve. And the only way I could see it at all fitting into Adam and Eve, having different species of human, would be through the Nephilim, the seed of the Nephilim.
I concur.
hey, you know what? And then well, Kristen brought up the Sasquatch earlier, and there's a Sasquatch hunter. I think his name is Scott Carpenter. He passed away recently. He was a Christian. And he said that through his research and time studying them and like having encounters with them, he thought that they were a human Nephilim hybrid as well. Because he did collect samples and had them tested, and it kept coming back with human DNA. Like every single time. He'd have hair samples, he'd have blood samples. They were post flood inbreds. Huh, interesting. And then I know there's also occultists who believe that that they have Nephilim blood as well. So I wonder, maybe they're still walking around. I don't know. I think they probably are. Hi, Robin.
Um,
Hey, Robin.
Speaking of Nephilim, here she is.
Dang.
I'm just kidding.
is Jamie saying post-flood, or does he mean pre-flood?
I think he means post flood, like inbred descendants from Noah. I think that could explain the high brow and everything, except I don't think that at all explains the size. Like, even the bone structure, they say, is much larger. And usually we have a loss of information. I would see that as a gain of information, thicker bone density.
Yeah, and maybe they are just people that existed pre-flood, and they were a lot hardier back then.
That's what I think too. That
Yeah, we're like,
they,
the scientists are like, oh, why are their bones so strong? I'm like, because everything was better back in the day.
right.
I mean, that could be, and that could again explain why we age them so old, even past what human history is, because I think we have trouble dating anything we find, even fossils that are pre-flood.
Am I muted?
No.
Okay, so I did watch a video, but I only watched the first 10 minutes of it because it's an hour long video, and I brought it up now here, but instead of playing it, it is full of AI. Like everything that you see is made with AI, and it annoys me because you were on my screen, okay? Because it shows you a man, and then the man has three hands for like a split second, and then he becomes a woman, and I don't know. I can't watch, but I've been listening to it, and it's explaining how the Bible is not being very specific on the subject of Nephilim, but it does say what it does. It does say that the sons of God picked up human wives for themselves. And then we have another verse that says there were giants in the earth in that time. And then we have the flood. And a lot of people, a lot of atheists are saying that God is not righteous because he killed like so many people with the flood. But if we make that connection and we connect the dots for them, maybe the world was, it turned into this, this is what the video is saying, it turned into this might is right because of the existence of beings like that. It used to be a world where people knew that there was a God and they were trying to be kind, humble, but then stronger men started appearing and they became like rulers, and nobody could speak up to them. So the whole thing, the whole game started turning into might is right, and that's why God brought the flood. So I'm not gonna play the video, it's 1 hour long, and he does start saying that at the beginning of the video, because I've only watched 10 minutes of it. I'm not even sure. No, less than 10, yeah. But I know that Stephen has some stuff lined up, so let's leave this for later, and we might get to this.
Okay. Well, I'll go ahead and pull up some of the videos. I went ahead and removed the two first longer ones because I don't think they are totally necessary, and they were really long. So we'll pull this one up and give it a view. And
give it a like too, and press full screen on the YouTube there.
Well, when you press full screen, it gets smaller, which is so stupid.
Yeah. I don't think it's happening. I don't think it's happening here. Which are you doing it through Chrome?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's the issue.
Really?
Stupid Google browser. But
you guys tell me if you can hear this, because we were having trouble playing audio with videos the other night.
no audio yet.
None?
No. Now we lost your audio.
There we go. Do me a favor, Achilles. Can you go into the private chat, and I posted a link, and can you open it and play the first video? I'm wondering if it's me that's having trouble playing the audio.
Okay, so I'm copying it. Let me try Chrome too.
So many technical issues with EVMux. I was actually looking into StreamYard today, or Streamlabs.
Okay, wait. I don't see it in the share screen. Oh, here it is, Chrome tab. Also share tab audio, it's enabled. So I press share. So let's see what happens when I full screen it. Oh, you see, it worked here.
That is stupid, but good.
Yeah, stupidly good. But let's see. How's the audio?
I don't
Heard the
hear
audio?
it.
No audio?
No.
Oh, okay, it was muted. Now you'll hear it, but maybe you get echo? No. Okay,
I don't hear
wait.
it's not playing yet.
Oh, no, it's not. Are you hearing me though?
Yes.
No echo here. Okay.
No echo.
Okay, so let's play the video. I'm muting myself.
These, in the deep recesses of ancient times, before the great...
Hard audio?
Yes. Yep.
Good.
Flood washed away the sins of... In the deep recesses of ancient times, before the great flood washed away the sins of a fallen world, there existed beings of extraordinary power and stature, beings known as the Nephilim. These giants, whose origins are shrouded in mystery, have captivated the imaginations of countless generations. Their story is one of divine beings, human women, and the catastrophic consequences of their union. This is the untold story of the Nephilim, a tale that begins in the heavenly realms and descends to the very depths of earthly corruption. The story of the Nephilim begins in the celestial courts of heaven, where the sons of God held their divine appointments. These beings, often identified as angels, were tasked with watching over and guiding the affairs of humanity. Among them were a group known as the Watchers, entrusted with the responsibility of observing the human world and ensuring its order and harmony. The Book of Enoch, an ancient Jewish text, provides a detailed account of these Watchers. According to Enoch, 200 of these celestial beings, led by a powerful angel named Semyaza, descended to Earth. Their initial intent was to monitor humanity, but their mission soon took a fateful turn.
Just for the record, I have an issue with the details that are given to us by the Book of Enoch. I think that God has a good reason for not being specific with details, because what matters is how we are in heaven and not the details of which angel did what and why was he more fallen than the other one. That has created a cult of people that are trying to understand angels and the fallen angels, and I just think that's part of the fallen angel scheme. But just throwing that out for the record.
Yeah, and one correction, they said that Enoch is an ancient Jewish text, but as we've gone over before, it's actually most likely an ancient Greek text that was translated into Hebrew later. And so we don't know if it's reliable at all or if it was just meant to be a fable, but there's also a great possibility that it was at that time part of oral tradition and they just wrote it down much later.
Yeah, but for anybody out there that will hear this and will say, well, yeah, but we found it in the Elder Scrolls, that's the thing. We asked about the Book of Enoch, a man that we interviewed here, who was one of the translators of the, did I say Elder Scrolls again?
Yeah, Dead Sea Scrolls.
Dead Sea Scrolls, man. This happens to me all the time because I'm an ex-gamer, so... the Dead Sea Scrolls, and we've had one of the translators of the Dead Sea Scrolls. We interviewed him, and we asked him this specific question about whether he thinks that the Book of Enoch was part of the original texts because it was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. And he said, although it was written in Hebrew, it carried Greek idioms. So it looked like somebody has translated into Hebrew something that was Greek and put it in the vessels, in the jars that we found the other texts. So you need to take anything in the Book of Enoch with a grain of salt.
Amen. Yep. Good advice.
It's not just me and Stephen saying this. We asked one of the translators of the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, go ahead and try to do better than that if you want to have a different opinion. But we went to the source and we've interviewed him. Do you remember? I don't. Do you remember his name so people can look it up in the...
Yes, his name is Tim Puzak.
So if you can search for that name under our channel, you will see the interview where he talks to us about the translating process and how the Bible has been verified with excruciating detail especially the book of Isaiah, that we found it like complete. And then at some point we asked him about the book of Enoch as well. So
Yes.
put it behind you. It's done. We're not taking it for scripture just because it was there.
And
It was
there
written by Greeks. Okay, go ahead.
there
Hey.
was another point. Yeah, Terry?
Oh no, you go on. I was just gonna respond to someone in the chat, but
Okay. Well, I'll let you go ahead because okay. So on that video we did with Tim Puzak, where he told us about the Dead Sea Scrolls and why he doesn't believe the Book of Enoch, he was also telling us how it's a clear mistranslation that it's a clear mistranslation where we translated the Hebrew word into Lucifer, which we derive light bearer from. He says that the actual translation in the Hebrew is more along the lines of son of darkness or child of darkness. And he was supposed to come back on so we could talk about that.
I don't even remember that moment, but I'll take your word for it.
I reposted it just the other day. You need to go back and rewatch it because you were fascinated with that point, and he was going to come back and talk to us, but he hasn't yet.
Jamie, you froze.
Yeah, he says he has no sound.
Happens with IFMAX and cell phones sometimes. I don't know if it's a setting in the phone, but seen that before.
I'm
So
really about done with EVMux.
So let's proceed. I just want people to make a distinction between what we understand from what the Bible tells us and what we add from a book that it's questionable, right? Because it's right now, like it said that these specific angels had this job of armies and all that, and he bases all that like on some authority, which is the book of Enoch, and it's not authority. So I just want people to be able to make that distinction and eat the meat, spill the bones, as they do when they eat fish.
Yes, and unless you are a 1611 King James Bible holder, the Book of Enoch was never scripture. So just hold on to that point. Hello,
brother.
Dream Cutter.
Hello, can you hear us? You seem to be muted. He's struggling with the settings, I guess. Can you hear us?
man, you guys got some real haters in the chat.
Oh yeah, we got lots of those.
In this holleration.
Did you want to address this comment, Terry?
Yeah.
Is this the one that got to you?
I wanted to say that Snow White is real. I do believe that. So shut up.
All right.
Am I the only one that doesn't get any sound?
We hear you. We can hear you. You may have to refresh.
I can't hear anything.
We talked about this before, Achilles, and like the problem with people not taking mythology seriously.
And somebody else in the chat is saying
like
the same.
Snow White, you don't have to take it literally to believe it, truth in it.
Okay, give me a second. Let me fix this. Let me type.
I just
Steven.
heard him.
Okay.
Yeah, I told him he needs to refresh.
In the private chat?
Yeah, I told him in the private chat.
But hopefully he knows how to go to the private chat. The thing is that the other person that is saying that in the chat was Jamie, and it only happens when you enter IFMAX with a phone. So for Jamie, we're gonna have to wait until he goes back home. And for Delmi, I know he has a computer because he has a channel and he's making videos. So come back from your computer. It happens. Yes, it's a great smile, isn't it? Look at this comment. The thing is that what Terry brought up, there used to be a whole civilization that had mythology, and we somehow consider ourselves more evolved from them. But the more we understand about the truth that we didn't evolve, we have devolved from what we used to be to today. There are some aspects of mythology that they could be real, and nobody seems to care to examine them. For example, we have come to the realization, maybe for some it's not a real realization, it's a false one, but for those that is a real realization, that people lived with dinosaurs, then 30 to 40% of the stories with dragons in a mythology book are real. Then we have scientific evidence that the book, the Iliad and the Odyssey, were based upon true facts, because we have discovered things that prove that the Trojan War was real. So that is one of the greatest slices of the mythology pie in the previous civilization, the Greek mythology. So you put in the fact that the Trojan War is now accepted as the First World War. You add the fact that men lived with dinosaurs. You add the Nephilim. You add the fallen angels, that they only seem to have been changing names between different civilizations. They had different names in the Sumerian civilization. They had different names in the Greek civilization. And you end up realizing that there's some truth in those stories. It's part of the history. So I'm not saying go worship like Diana and stuff, but if you don't know mythology, then mythology might be playing a trick on you. Because as we saw with Terry a week ago, or a couple of weeks ago, those that told you in 2020 to do what they asked you to do, they supposedly have taken an oath that they would never lie to you, and you believed them, but you didn't go to read the oath, the Hippocratic oath, to see where they're swearing to. They are swearing to a Greek pagan deity, Apollo. So there is a high chance that if you don't understand mythology, or you don't even study it at all, you take it for like fairy tales, then it's playing a trick on you, because it's coming back. It's coming back being used by Satan. We have the black cube that is behind all the cults and the governments, that are this hidden hand, which represents Saturn. And what they're trying to say is that Saturn pre-existed Zeus. So we're trying to go back to the gods before Yahweh, and that's their analogy, going back to Saturn. And the only reason you are completely inept when it comes to these things is because you consider them fairy tales. So sorry for the long rant, guys, but I like that subject.
Delmy, can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now, Delmy?
I think he's going to have to go into his settings.
There's something with your settings.
Yeah, he's going to have to go into his settings and change that to where his audio output's going. Yeah, so Claude is telling us that dinosaurs never walked with man. And you touched on something good, Achilles, because we see this over and over again, especially in recent times. They told us that the city of Troy was fictitious and didn't exist, and then we found it. They told us that the city of David was fictitious and that it never existed, and then we found the city of David. Every culture around the world talks about a global flood. It's pretty safe to say that at one time in history, there was a global flood that every culture remembers, and it has scarred our conscience. And the same thing goes with giants. Cultures all around the world talk about aliens or angels coming down from the sky and mating with the daughters of man and producing giants. So it it bears witness that as a collective, cultures still remember deep down inside that we did have giants walking this earth. So I take that as evidence, unless they're claiming that all the ancient cultures were stupid.
And let me just show this, because somebody said that no scientists believe that. This is from the New Scientist magazine, saying that the Trojan War existed. Then you have the same in IFL Science. Then you have the same in the Smithsonian magazine.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know which people are peer reviewing what Claude thinks, but people seem to be peer reviewing the same thing here, and they're agreeing. So, and they agreed on that back in 2016, and here we are 9 years later, people still around saying, "Oh no, that's just fairy tales." Just do your research, dude. And I'm that close to banning you, you know that. Somebody asked Claude recently, "How are your relationships with Achilles?" And he said, "I'm pretty sure Achilles would ban me the second he could." And you're right. You're right. That has not changed, Claude. Right. I'm just being kind to my brother here who is having a blast with your comments. And the president who seems to like you for some weird reason. I don't know.
I don't know why Dan loves Claude so much. I think it's because they're on similar intellectual levels, so maybe it's easier to have a back and forth with Claude than it would be like Mark Reed
I
or
think that was
anybody but
insulting.
Claude.
I think that was insulting to our president. You need to repent.
No, I don't mean that Claude or I don't mean that Dan is dumb. Far from it. Like the stuff he does on symbiotic relationships and common design is mind blowing to me. But it is funny that in apologetics arena, his favorite opponent is Claude. I always liked taking on Mark. I miss when Mark would come in here and get slapped around. I really do.
Terry, any thoughts on this?
Hello, Achilles.
Yeah,
On
on the,
Clubhouse.
no, on the past like 10-minute rant, which I apologize
Uh,
profoundly for.
no, it's okay. I don't have many thoughts about that. I do think there was a Trojan War, obviously, and the Great Flood and all the stuff. And as you know, I said, I think there's a lot of truth in mythology, and maybe
The,
the details aren't perfect, but the stories are there and they're passed down for a reason, and they're to teach us something. And people who think they're above that or that, they dismiss it, they're being foolish.
and the implication of the Trojan War being real is that these are the two books that we have. We have like three books on mythology. One of them is Theogony from Hesiod, which is which god gave birth to what god and why the night was called the night and gave birth to the day and all that. That is one book. And then the other two big books that we have about this are about the Trojan War, and they give us everything we know about the Dodecatheon. So if the Trojan War is true, that makes Homer a historian, and that kind of alters the textbooks. But you don't see them getting altered, getting changed.
Hey, Claude, you may have seen a television program called The Flintstones?
Duh.
Checkmate.
Yeah, Claude would like evidence that dinosaurs walked with man. I would point to the Bible, first of all, because that's better than any stupid magazine that has been peer reviewed by other echo chamber members. And I would also point to all the various cave writings we've collected from around the world with people depicting humans chasing after and hunting dinosaurs, or even drawing dinosaur migrating together. And you ask yourself now, how would these ancient people have any idea what these dinosaurs looked like if they died millions of years ago? And the answer is they didn't die millions of years ago. Ancient people saw them with their own eyes, and they even hunted them and called them dragons. But you won't accept that, so I'm not here to convince
Ooh.
you to accept.
I don't know
frankly
much
don't care.
about Franco-Greco relations,
They're terrible.
so nobody gets along with them.
No one in the world likes the Greeks, or likes the French.
That's good. That's okay, because Claude isn't really French anyway. We can tell he's
Yeah,
making fun of a French person.
I agree with Terry 100% on that.
About him screams an Englishman's interpretation of a Frenchman.
Oh, well, his
Yeah,
name's not even Claude Balls.
he's pretty good with the accent, though. I'll give him that.
Is he, though? Is he? Because I told him Sacre Bleu one day, and he had no idea what I was saying. And I refuse to believe that there's a Frenchman alive who doesn't know, oh my God, in French.
So I think that's au mon Dieu, ain't it? Even
I
I
have
know
to
that.
pop out, but I'll be in the chat.
All right, Terry.
Okay,
Thanks for yeah.
keep it in order. Does she have a wrench,
I'll do my
Stevens?
best.
She has a wrench.
Okay, use it. Use it wisely.
Feel free
Always wisely.
Feel
Very
free to ban all of them, Terry.
Take care, dear.
Really
Take care.
assert your authority.
Yeah, and don't even use it wisely. Just use it. Like we don't judge.
I agree with Dummy Tree Cutter here. There are living dinosaurs still in the world. I believe that's very, very possible.
Yep. And there are so many stories that they can't all be fakes. Even if one is a fake, there are so many stories from all over the world. So this is a footprint that has been found where, and it's not the only one. We have others in limestone, where a dinosaur footprint is together with a human footprint on the same period, because when this was mud, it was mud, then it got petrified. So it is the same period. But people are, this scientific consensus has found an excuse for this, which is, oh, it happened much later. But that doesn't make sense, because how can it remained mud forever for like another million years? But
Undisturbed. Nothing else stepped in that dinosaur's footprint, Achilles.
until that human evolved and was passing by. Do you see that they were not going the same direction? So that is proof that it's like two different lifelines right there. I'm just kidding. It's dumb. This just things like that ruin their narrative and they disappear,
Yeah, the Bible calls it willingly ignorant, and in the Greek, it means dumb on purpose.
Yep, I can verify that.
And that's exactly what it has to be. It has to be that they're being dumb on purpose, because the evidence is all there. It's just the evidence crumbles their worldview, and they have made that worldview into their religion. So for them to admit the dinosaurs were alive at the same time as man would be the same as a Christian admitting that God didn't exist. Like, this is their religion. They can't do that.
Right. And here's another fake picture, quote unquote. So yes, with you bringing it up, Claude, we do believe around here, around this channel, that we have a full false narrative for a history, and it's for a good cause. I mean, it serves a purpose for them to hide the existence of a creator, and it has worked. Judging from people like you, Claude, it has worked. But I don't know. Claude doesn't strike me for the person that thinks,
Well, no,
right?
of course not.
He just supports a side without even thinking about it. I
You
don't know,
know,
but he's
I
the evidence of the hatred towards the existence of a god. That seems to be his motive. It's not to think and support the right side. But yeah, we're not working for people like that. People like that can be in the chat and say whatever they want, giving us an opportunity to dig deeper into fossils, into dinosaur stories, into all that fancy stuff. So
and
thanks.
we
Yeah.
don't mind taking the time to go over all the taboo subjects. It doesn't bother us. Doesn't bother us at all. Like if you're looking for a YouTube channel that only does Bible studies and sermons, and that's all they focus on, I would strongly suggest Dr. Dino with Kent Hovind. He has a YouTube channel. I would strongly suggest Standing for Truth. You can see some great Christian debates over there. And there are various other Christian YouTube channels where you can just get sermons, and they do an amazing job. Here, we stick to Christ crucified, and we also love to dive into the taboo subjects that a lot of Christians shy away from, because we're not afraid to shy away from them, and we don't mind that most of our audience right now and YouTube are atheist haters and are telling us that we're stupid for believing that dinosaurs lived with man, but dinosaurs did in fact live with man. They lived at the same time. Everything was created in under 6 days.
The term dinosaur was coined in the 50s. Before that, they were called, no, I don't think, yeah, 1950s, around there. You can find the word in dictionaries before that time, and they were called dragons before. But you have been programmed into thinking that every time you read the word dragon, it's a fairy tale.
Mm.
But that's what they were called before they get labeled terrible lizards, because that's what dinosaur means. It's a Greek word and it means a terrible lizard, meaning a huge lizard.
Right. Yep. Mr. Logo, if you would like to believe that your T Rex turned into Kentucky Fried Chicken, that's totally up to you. I think the fairy tales that you guys believe are stupid. I really do. As a matter of fact, I think it takes way more faith to be an evolutionist and believe that a T Rex turned into a chicken than it does that God created you with a purpose. But it's easier for you to believe that dinosaurs turned into chickens because then you don't have to acknowledge the God that made you, and you're free to continue living in sin. I also hope Satan is paying you very well to be around these small, insignificant Christian YouTube channels, because the thought of you just being a lonely man with no life, it kills me deep down inside. And I hope you're getting paid for this. This should be a service that you make lucrative income from. Marco Polo saw the Emperor of China pulling his chariots with dragons. Exactly. And these weren't fire breathing dragons, these were dinosaurs. The Emperor was having his chariot pulled by dinosaurs.
It would be easy to tame them, but China is China. you know, like
I
it,
would
it
like
just
for
throws people at the problem and it solves the problem. So come on.
I wish for just once Mr. Logo would actually come on the stream and talk. He prefers to do the keyboard worrying, but I would like to get him in here because he says, no, not turned into. It's not turn into Lucian, it's evolution. Well, Mr.
Okay.
Logo, I would say that going from a T Rex to a chicken is a loss of information, right? You didn't gain anything if you devolve. That's stagnation, not evolution, first of all. That's just worthless mutations. Second of all, I would need you to show me or explain to me what the variables in the environment were to cause that kind of change. That would be something special.
So, although you know this, they have some fossils that are like dinosaurs with feathers. So there you have it. That means that that dinosaur came from another dinosaur that didn't have the feathers, and it evolved to something that only had feathers. So yeah, it takes a lot of faith to think that. Keep that in mind. Because the fossil is there, that doesn't mean it had any children. It doesn't mean its parent was T-Rex. Or pick another one.
Mr. Logo, he's on it tonight. He says T Rex isn't the ancestor of a chicken. Why is it that you keep getting it wrong? Sir, you've got the whole formula wrong to start with, and you're asking me why I get wrong your wrong formula. Okay, so you tell me what dinosaur is the ancestor of the chicken, and then explain to me.
Archaeopteryx.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
explain to me the variables in the environment that cause that kind of change. And take your
Archeo
time.
Archaeopteryx, which in Greek just means ancient bird. That ancient winged. That's what it means. Ancient winged Archaeopteryx. Right? So wow, solved because we found this complicated word that people wouldn't understand. So that means we have that fossil. You know,
Yeah,
before
are you
the
talking about Archaeopteryx?
Archaeopteryx, I think is the name. But
Different, prehistoric. Okay.
I do remember that before they arrived to this latest one that they have, the previous ones were proven fakes. Somebody had stitched, glued feathers to a fossil, and the museum that bought the fossil discovered it was glued. So yeah, that one was fake. The next one was fake, but the next one was not fake. Now we have it. Sure, guys. Sure.
Grasping at straws, Achilles.
I
They are
know,
the
right?
best at grasping at straws. You
And you
you
know
T
what?
Rexes get in here and defend your position, man. You guys are
And you
big,
know what?
scary T Rexes.
And no, we're not. Of course, we're laughing at you saying that, right? It's not T-Rex that turned into a chicken, but whichever dinosaur evolved into a chicken, show us why. Show us what he gained by doing that. We could also ask you to show us the intermediate steps between scales and feathers, which are completely different things, but we try to make it to keep it simple for you.
Show me 3 intermediate species between whatever dinosaur you claim it started as and the chicken. 3. And that should be easy with all the billions of fossils we have found.
2. If you can't find 3, just show us 2.
I'll take 1. I will take 1 really good, solid intermediate species, Achilles. I'm that confident that this is crap.
Since the chat has led us so astray from the original point of the Nephilim and Neanderthal, do you want to continue the video? Which, sorry for pausing it.
Yeah, I think that that would really irritate them because there's a reason they all showed up tonight. And they never come out any other night, but for some reason, I think this episode terrifies the atheists. So maybe there's something more to it than even I thought. I went into it as this is an interesting topic. Let's talk about it. But now I'm getting a lot more than that from it, Achilles.
So let's give credit to Deep Bible Stories. In fact, let me do this. Let me take a screenshot of their logo, save it somewhere on my computer, and come here and bring this up. Add logo. No, don't create a folder. I don't want to create a folder. I just want a new upload new. Okay, I got it. I got it. All right.
Okay.
Because when we play somebody else's video, we do want to give them credit. It's not our video. So, oh, it's too small, but it's there.
Oh
It's
no,
good.
you can make it bigger.
Oh, yes, you're right. Oh, yeah, thank you, Steven. All right, so now that we're gonna full screen this, there we go. Okay, can I move it too? No,
You should be able to. No, you can't move it. It's
okay,
stuck there. But that's fine.
but it's good. It just hides the Jesus saves, but it's scrolling, isn't it? So it's all right. All right, I'll press play.
All right.
Let's go.
As they observed the daughters of men, they were struck by their beauty and grace. The Watchers, who had previously remained aloof from human affairs, found themselves captivated and longing for human companionship. Semyaza, their leader, voiced his desire to take human wives and father children.
You know, you see why I have an issue with giving them names. Some part of what we just heard is from the Bible, that angelic beings envied the daughters of men. Not envied, but they desired them for themselves, and they took them. They took women. So that gives us the understanding that they had offsprings with those women, which is what we call the Nephilim. But any other, not we, the Bible, but any other detail about their leader being that one and he did this and he did that, that is from the Book of Enoch, which we do not endorse here. Okay? Eat the meat, spill the bones. Right.
But he feared the repercussions of such a transgression. Despite his reservations, Semyaza's words resonated with the other Watchers, and they vowed to follow him, binding themselves by an oath to share in the consequences of their actions. This decision marked the beginning of an unprecedented event in human history, the union of divine beings with mortal women. The descent of the Watchers and their union with human women is briefly mentioned in Genesis 6. 1, 2. When human beings began to increase in number on the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. This passage, though brief, signifies a profound and forbidden mingling of the heavenly and the earthly. The Watchers, now bound to their oath, took human wives and fathered a race of hybrid beings known as the Nephilim.
So that was biblical, quoted from Genesis 6. Something I also have an issue with is the term watchers. The term watchers comes from the Book of Enoch, not the Bible.
Amen.
The term watchers implies that they are watching over us. But the Bible is talking about 1/3 of the angels rebelling with Satan. So those are not watchers. Those are deceivers. They are part of Satan's rebellion and Satan's deception upon the earth. So I don't like the term watchman. But we know that, Claude. Claude admitted the other day on some stream that he can't go out and enjoy life because Kent Hovind might upload a video and he won't be there to cut things off it. So it's kind of ruining his life, his obsession with him. So,
Well, you know, the answer to that is to stop being a full grown man obsessed with another full grown man and just
and go
live
live.
your life, Claude.
Live life, dude.
Like from what I hear, you are in Singapore or one of those countries. Like beautiful history all around you. You have obviously the resources to live there. Like, get out of your house and have fun, man. Like,
You
I
don't
feel
have
bad
to
for
be
you, Claude.
single anymore.
No,
Just get out there, dude.
he's here to save others from the big bad Kent Hovind.
Yeah, right. All
Thank
right.
you for your service, Claude.
Thank you, Claude.
You are the
Thank you.
man. You saved so many of us.
Thanks for the laugh.
I feel safer just having him around. I don't know about you, Achilles. I feel like I can walk to my car alone now.
Definitely, he's protecting us. I mean, imagine Kent Hovind coming by. What would we
Don't
do? What would we do?
we've said it twice. Don't say Kent Hovind a third. Oh no,
Oh,
we said it 3 times.
Claude, get in here, save us. He won't come in if you're here.
Oh, Claude Balls is Kent Hovind repellent. That is for sure. 5 scores and for sures ago. Yes.
I would definitely would like to have a new interview with Kent Hovind concerning dinosaurs living with man. And in fact, because I think that Kent Hovind is a little worn out from what life has thrown at him and how long he has been doing this, I think we can just have some series that Claude is gonna love, which is the stories that we have concerning dinosaurs or dragons around from our civilization, which is, if I recall, it was in his creation seminar number 6. I'm not sure, but I can look that up because I have the seminars and they're online. Because dinosaurs lived with men. You guys like it or not?
I
Did
think
it?
you're right, Achilles. I think it would be a great time to have Kent Hovind back on and do an episode just on dinosaurs and their relation to our history. That'd be a great episode.
And we can intro it with his seminar.
Yeah, I'll call Joseph this evening and set that up.
We'll let you know, Claude. We won't have to. You're stalking both him and us, so we won't have to let you know. You'll know before we do.
So Claude says that the Congo expedition was a Dimsel failure. My question is, which part of the Congo did you search? Because from my understanding, we've only mapped out like 20% of it.
No, the thing is, he's right. It was a failure, and they said why it was a failure, because it was so hard to navigate. It was impossible. And the reason is what Stephen described. We only have mapped like 20%. You can fit a whole state. I'm not sure which state that is. Definitely not Texas, but you can fit a whole state in that swamp.
Yes. Delmy is back. Delmy, I don't know if you'll be able to hear us now, man. Hopefully. You've tried to join several times. Let's see. There, can you hear us, Delmy?
No.
That is a crying shame. I don't know why, but that happens to Joseph too when he comes on. Like, we can hear him, but he can't hear us. And I think that it's a setting in EVMux.
No, I think it's a setting in their phones, because it only happens with people that join from phones.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm just looking at some pictures of the size of Congo, but I can't find one that compares with countries. But if you, okay, it's shared. If you can look above here, you can see Greece, Italy, Spain, Portugal. You can fit all those inside the Congo swamp. So it takes a lot of funds to search the whole thing, Mr. Claude. And this scientific consensus is not sharing those funds.
Yeah.
So I'm going back to this tab. Tell me, can you hear us? Nope. Steven, I gotta feed my dogs.
Okay.
Yes, ain't it, Terry?
How long do you think it will take you to feed the puppies?
It shouldn't take long, but a couple, 10 minutes. But what do we do in the meantime? Should you play a video?
Do you want to scroll through one of those videos and find one that's just over 10 minutes and go ahead and play it?
Okay, but you're gonna have to. Okay, this is 7 minutes, the one that we're watching.
Mm-hmm. But we're like a third of the way through that one, so that won't buy you enough time.
How about this one that says scientists discovered the last Anunnaki king inside a tomb and they're scared? I don't know. Have you watched it?
No, that one or scientists discovered something strange about Neanderthal DNA. That's almost 9 minutes.
Okay, and this one looks promising. Were the sons of God in Genesis 6 fallen angels? Who were the Nephilim? Okay, but I'll go to this one, the one that you suggested.
And then go.
Remember the Neanderthal?
I'm sorry?
And then go feed your puppies. That'll
Yeah.
give you like 9 minutes.
Yeah, but when I come back, I will not know what this video was talking about. That's sad. But if something happens, just remove the screen and
It
mute
won't
it.
stop playing.
I know, but just remove it and mute it. All right?
Okay, sounds good.
Delmy, can you hear us? Oh, now I don't think Delmy's
going to be able to.
Yeah. Now I have to change the logo. Wait. So new screenshot. New. This is called bright side. It didn't work. I gotta do it again. Don't save. We go bright side. Save. Save there.
In the meantime, we'll ask the atheist to show us on this T-Rex doll where Kenthoven hurt you.
I know where it is. It's in the scene. That's where he hurt them.
Oh, Achilles. Facts.
Alright. Tell me if you have audio.
Neanderthals are super.
Yes.
Okay, so we don't know if this is a good video. If it's not, Steven, remove it from the screen. I'll be right back.
Remember the Neanderthals?
What up? Is that okay?
Yeah, I said sounds good.
Okay.
Superstar humanoid cousins of the Pleistocene era in all their wide-nosed and slope-foreheaded glory? They roamed through Europe and Asia for over 350,000 years before they vanished. This was around the same time our ancestors, the Homo sapiens, decided to take a vacation from Africa and explore the world. We may never know what truly happened to the Neanderthals and why they didn't make it to the present times, but thanks to some hefty archaeological digging and impressive fossil finds, we now know a bit more about them. One theory for their disappearance is that the climate wasn't suitable for them anymore. Supporters of this idea think Mother Nature turned on the Neanderthals and sent them packing. Unfortunately, if we look at Neanderthal archaeological sites in Italy, for example, there are no signs of weather catastrophes that could have wiped out this entire species. Others believe there was a bit of resource competition between Neanderthals and humans. That's why specialists also dug around several other archaeological sites where Neanderthals and sapiens might have rubbed elbows for about 3,000 years. In this case, it does seem that the Neanderthals were a bit behind with their tools. Their technology was like flip phones in the age of VR. but who knows if these two species ever crossed paths in that particular region? The evidence is still fuzzy. How they went extinct isn't the only information we're curious about when it comes to Neanderthals. Other scientists, for instance, are trying to decode some of the Neanderthal molecular barcodes to identify their specific traits, some of which you might share, believe it or not. Sure, Neanderthals as a whole species did, in fact, go extinct, but that's not to say remnants of their DNA can't be found in humans. Now, you know how things go when folks live near each other. Some genetic mixing was bound to happen. The evidence? A dash of Neanderthal DNA which was found in modern folks. Now, this is where the plot thickens. Scientists thought that since Neanderthals never lived in Africa, their DNA wouldn't be found in modern African populations. Well, it turns out that African people have about 0.5% Neanderthal DNA too. This doesn't mean our Neanderthal relatives simply teleported through African territories without leaving any trace behind. What this discovery actually implies is that early humans might have visited Europe, mixed their genetic material with that of Neanderthals, after which they returned to Africa. That's a lot of migration. How did we stumble upon that Neanderthal DNA these days, you might wonder? Well, scientists gathered thousands of people from all around the world. Participants came from places like East Asia, Europe, South Asia, America, and Africa. Percentages may vary, sure, but around 20% of the good old Neanderthal DNA is still found in US modern folks. Sure, the average Joe only carries about 2% of that caveman swagger. If you're from certain places or families that have a smidge more Neanderthal in their gene soup, you're looking at 3% tops. Is there anything in particular that we share with our long-gone humanoid cousins? As it turns out, our Neanderthal ancestors gifted us more than just their company for some thousands of years. They also passed down the incredible legacy of their noses. Well, you see, the Neanderthals were outfitted with some seriously high-rising sniffers. These weren't just cosmetic, they were also quite the asset in chilly climates. The icicle-dripping, teeth-chattering kind of cold where your breath could freeze before it leaves your lips. During those days, the Neanderthal noses worked as personal heaters, warming and humidifying the cold, dry air they inhaled. For that kind of extreme weather, these impressive nasal skyscrapers turned out to be quite handy. When our Homo sapiens ancestors decided to leave the sunny savannas of Africa for a spot of frostbite up in Eurasia, they bumped into the Neanderthals. This encounter resulted in not just an exchange of pleasantries, but also an exchange of genes that coded for larger noses. This newfound genetic nugget was discovered by scientists who dug deep into the DNA of over 6,000 volunteers. To complete the study, these scientists meticulously compared this genetic data to snapshots of the volunteers' faces. They measured the distances between various points on each face, such as the height of the volunteers' nose bridges. They then played a game of spot the genetic marker to identify if certain facial traits were linked with specific genes. By the end of this exciting chase, they hit the jackpot. 33 shiny new genome areas were linked to facial features. One standout gene, named ATF3, was traced back to our Neanderthal ancestors and seemed to be the maestro of controlling nose height. Participants with Native American ancestry had Neanderthal hand-me-downs in this gene, contributing to their taller noses. Think of the ATF3 gene as a Neanderthal housewarming gift to us humans, as we stepped into colder climates from Africa. Interestingly, this isn't the first time our ancestors have played pass the gene. Back in 2021, the same research team uncovered a gene influencing lip shape called TBX15. This gene was a little love note from the Denisovans, another set of our ancient relatives, who lived in Asia and went extinct around 30,000 years ago. Another part of the scientific community believes our Neanderthal buddies had this weird genetic feature when it came to their brains. Is that why they didn't make it? Through this theory, it was suggested that US humans might owe our brainy edge to a quirky gene mutation. This mutation gave our neocortex, that's the smarty pants part of the brain, a little population boom in the neuron department. This amazing gene of ours isn't all that different from the Neanderthal version. It's just one amino acid off, just like ordering a coffee with one sugar instead of none. This tiny tweak is found in virtually all modern humans. Meanwhile, our extinct relatives, the Neanderthals, Denisovans, and other primate pals, all missed the mutation memo, at least according to the study. Now, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Just because we have more neurons doesn't necessarily mean we're geniuses by comparison. But these results do suggest that we might have rewired the brain in a way that gave us a cognitive leg up. Also, it's not all about this lone amino acid difference. It's just a piece of the puzzle. Scientists have previously found a whopping 96 differences between our DNA and that of Neanderthals that could have potentially affected our different outcomes as species. Studying Neanderthal DNA also gave us some insight into their relationships. In fact, we now have some solid evidence of what a Neanderthal family looked like. And surprisingly, it's not really that different from ours. For this study, researchers gathered information from a Neanderthal archaeological site located in Asia. They discovered that one particular family included a doting Neanderthal dad, his teen daughter, and a sprightly young lad who was possibly their nephew or cousin. Part of the group was also an older female relative, maybe an aunt or granny. Now, our young damsel would eventually pack her bags, wave a teary goodbye, and leave her papa's home when she found Mr. Right. Had she been a boy like her young cousin, she would have been a happy homebody. But worry not, she wasn't stepping into a world of strangers. Her new community likely had some familiar, friendly faces. But how were scientists able to predict the ending of this story? By browsing through their gene pool, researchers were able to figure out that the Neanderthal social structure was patrilical. What this means is that most female Neanderthals left their homes when choosing a partner and started a new life with another family. The same research shows that our cave-dwelling clans likely weren't living in isolation either. Families living close by were probably visiting the same rock sampling areas to make their stone tools, the equivalent of a neighborhood hardware store. And when they weren't tooling around, they were busy hunting delicious meals like ibex, horses, bison, and other wandering critters. Scientists, however, were careful to add that this ancient family portrait might not represent the full spectrum of Neanderthal social life. They've kindly asked future archaeologists to get more Neanderthal DNAs on the Ancestry websites.
That's it for today. So hey, if you pacified your curiosity, then give the video a like and share it with your friends. Or if you want more, just click on these videos and stay on the bright side.
All right, Achilles, are you back yet, brother? Okay, so I do not believe that Achilles is back quite yet. So I'm going to go ahead and play one more quick video. Sorry for the intermission, and this will buy him a couple more minutes. But we'll be right back. Yeah?
Our kid just said...
When fears come in and flood your mind, when you think you're going down, when you think you're not going to make it, when you think you're going to fail God, or you've not measured up, when the enemy comes in and tells you that you're unworthy, you're unholy, you're no good, you'll never get it. What do you do when the enemy comes in like a flood? You see, the Lord raises up a standard. Let me show you what that standard is. Look at verse 1. The Lord reigneth. He is clothed with majesty. The Lord is clothed with strength, wherewith he hath girded himself. And he's put on his armor and set for battle. You have to have a clear vision that your Lord and Savior is standing by. His eyes on your flood, his eyes on you. You have to have a clear vision of what God has promised here. I've not ignored you. I see where you're at. I see what you're going through. Look at me. He says, I have girded myself. I put on my armor. I have my sword in hand. And then read what it says, verse 4. The Lord on high is mightier than the noise of many waters, yea, than the mighty waves of the sea. God says, get your eyes off the flood, get it on me. I've got my sword in hand. I am more powerful. I am mightier than all your floods. I'm bigger than all your fears. Get your eyes off your fears. He said, I've girded myself. That hit me. I could hardly sleep. I pictured my Lord standing over me, sword in hand. He knows how far it can go and no farther.
All right, so Achilles has not yet returned, and that's very sad news. It is sad news because the videos are playing in the background, one after another, and I can barely hear myself talking to you guys. And there we go. Achilles must be back because he just removed it. Yeah.
It got pretty bad, didn't it?
Well, it was a little hard to understand, so I just played one of our intros to buy us a little bit of time. But yeah, it it was good.
You put it backstage, but you could mute the feed.
I actually cannot. I cannot mute anyone's feed. I can mute them, but not their feed.
Oh, thanks
Go
it
figure.
much.
Yeah. EVMux is the worst. I'm looking into Streamlabs. From what I saw, your co-hosts can start and stop streams now, and that was the biggest thing we were looking for. The only problem is it seems to be very much like OBS, where you have to build a studio. So I'm gonna have to play with the free version for a couple days and see if what we're trying to do is doable.
Okay.
But yeah, we might be switching to Streamlabs because EVMux has been giving us too many issues, man.
Yeah, although it is a overall good platform when you want to complicate things a little bit. Gives a lot of issues, like what people are experiencing when they're coming in with their phones. It's been like a whole year, and they're not fixing this.
They've added a whole bunch of cool features, but I would have invested in fixing what was already wrong before adding new stuff, personally.
Right, just like Windows, they keep adding stuff without fixing stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, we have this new AI copilot. What? Just stop my Explorer crashing every time I right click on the quick link. Can you just do that? No.
That would be too much to ask, Achilles.
When we gotta do an episode on every field that is turning to shit. Computers are turning to shit. Motorcycles are turning to shit. Cars are turning to shit. Civilization is turning to shit.
It's all crumbling.
It's
crumbling
all crumbling
in front of us.
And the only book that predicted this is the Bible. Every other theory is like, things are gonna get better. I don't see it.
I like how, they've been pushing global warming for a while, and I'm wondering if that's so that even after judgment, they can convince people that it's just hotter, like they're not really in hell, That's my guess.
Yeah. I've been saying in previous videos that it's not global warming, it's the apocalypse, but it's going to be much shorter. So there are some good news there. It's not going to go like forever. We're stepping into this global warming era, which is going to last like forever. No. It's the apocalypse, and it's going to be pretty short. But you're going to be hot. You're going to be drowning. When it's snowing, you're going to be trapped and isolated from, no power and all that. But that's what it is. So to solve a problem, you gotta read the description. You gotta understand the problem first before you come up with a solution. So when you do understand that the true problem that you're facing is the end, then you're gonna deal with it the right way.
What I was just thinking of is we get a lot of atheists that come on and hate on us, but it's always like the B-roll atheists. And I'm wondering how little the atheist community thinks of us that they keep sending us their B rolls, right? And they're not even brave enough to come on and defend their positions. They just take shots from the comments section. Like, how little they must think of us. It's kind of insulting, actually.
I actually think you are wrong. I think that the hotshots are pretending, oh, you're so small. I like never found myself around where you guys are. But they know who we are. The B-rolls are reporting to them. And
That would make sense because Mr.
they're scared to
Logo.
come they're scared to come in because the B-roll atheist doesn't have a reputation to protect. That's why they're sending the minions over. All right.
Yeah, that could be because we did disassemble Mark Reed and Grayson Base Theory pretty rapidly. Like, they have not been able to show their faces back around here since. So maybe that is what it is. Maybe they just want to, kind of tire us out with all the backup
Minions.
team.
Yeah.
That could be.
But that's great. Well, that's actually great. It allows us to play with your minions. So if you do want a real fight, show yourself. Get over here. Beat us in our own game. Why are you so scared? Like, if you don't want us run around your B-sides, your B-rolls, I love that. B-roll. Reminds me of my cinematic days.
What cinematic days? Were you an actor?
Making videos and always having, separating the A rolls from the B rolls and all that. But I've stopped editing my style of videos for quite some time. After meeting you guys, I think, because streaming is a more direct way. I've been using an artistic expression before, but I'm pretty much done with that. I don't know. God knows. Maybe it'll inspire me soon, but for now, it is what it is. We're here. The good thing with my previous, so when I was in college, I had the option of taking debate class or speech class to fulfill the requirement. So I chose speech because I wanted to be able to present something in front of a crowd and not being, shaking and being terrified and all that. And my debate skills started with the atheists here. Like, they helped me with what I've left behind, because in the debate class you learn all about the ad hominems and the straw man and all that, which I'm now more experienced with, having all the atheists using them all the time. So my previous, I miss the previous style of editing because it was more of a presentation, and whoever wanted to debate it, all they could do is be in the comment section. They are not in the video. They're not part in the video. So the presentation time is over. Now we're in the debate class, I guess.
Yeah. The only thing is it's hard to debate each other because we agree on so much, and they don't come on to be debated anymore. So we were talking in the group chat, and I wish you had Facebook so I could add you to our group chat. But we were talking in the group chat the other day about maybe giving a break to creationism for a little bit and attacking, Satan's work through feminism and progressivism. What do you think?
I don't think we need to let go of anything, but we can do shows on the whole woke world. I love crushing idols. Like, For example, this channel here was never fooled by the promises of your trillionaire president. Nobody around here was fooled by his promises. But and now the way he has turned into, like, I just want to slap him around in a couple of videos. But he's not the woke type, but he's allowing all the woke agenda while he's pretending to be a president of peace and running wars in new countries, completely not caring for any constitutions and rule of law. Like, who cares for that? The rule of law is for every other country, not our country, right?
Yeah.
So we have so much that we can attack without focusing on the creation part of the Bible, because all the other things, like this world would have rulers and princes that will work for Satan because they will work for money, and money is the root of all evil, gets verified with every new president that comes up. With exceptions, but those exceptions, the other presidents attack their countries. So,
Yeah, true. I don't know. It's scary times we live in to be Americans. I'm expecting that here soon there's going to be a mass migration from here to really scattered all across the world. And I imagine a lot of people will return to their place of origins. And when that happens, I think I may be on that bandwagon. I think Krista and I may load up our horse and buggy and travel across the ocean and go to Europe.
yeah, she's gonna come with an airplane, you're gonna come with a ship, but you'll meet here. I'll drive you from the port to the airport to pick her up.
Does this make sense to you, Achilles?
Heck no.
I don't know. I don't understand. I am in no way pro-Trump, so I might be the only Republican or conservative that isn't pro-Trump. I don't know.
And I am very proud to say that I'm not a Republican nor a Democrat. I am a Christian. I do believe in democracy. I believe it's a great idea, but I don't see it around.
It was good while it lasted.
Yeah, 5th century BC, somewhere there.
I told Krista earlier today that in several ways the United States is better than Rome, England, and Greece. All of their histories combined. And my reason for that is it took England, Rome, and Greece just under and over 1,000 years to rise, become the superpower, and fall. But the US has done that in like 270 years. And I think that makes us special.
Well, I'll tell you why that happened. First off, combustion had just been invented, right? And you had, it was the Industrial Revolution. There were guns. So, things are a little different. So whoever had more guns, bigger guns wins. So investing on making bigger and better guns is guarantee. Then you had like a whole land that was like yours. Like nobody ever had that. They had to take over other people's stuff, which you did too with a civilization that we just make vanish, like completely. Like, hey, you were not around. You were not here. This is ours.
Awkward.
And then there was the whole slavery thing where people used to gain something from people working for them, but they would pay them dividends for that work. In your case, it happened for free.
However, I would like to point out in our defense on slavery. So, first of all, slavery
There's a
in the
paradox on
US,
that statement. I just want to clear that out. There's a paradox in that statement. All right. How
yes,
can you defend slavery? All right.
there's no way to defend slavery. But in America's defense, slavery was always unpopular here. Like at the height of slavery in this country, it was 37% of just the South that owned slaves. So the majority of the South wasn't even pro-slavery, never owned a slave. So it was always a very small fraction of our country that held the majority of slaves, and they had a lot of pull in the government, lawmaking. So that's my defense for American slavery, is that it was never very popular here. It's just the part that did slavery did it really well, unfortunately.
But it was very effective financially in building an empire,
Well, sure, yeah.
because the other empires, the slaves that they had, and I'm talking about the Roman Empire
Mm-hmm.
and the Greek Empire, even though the slavery was different between those two.
Mm-hmm.
But the British Empire, let's say, came at the time where it didn't have slaves the way Rome had, right?
Yeah.
So bringing that back into the equation and having a vast amount of land to exploit, defend, and the fact that you're surrounded by the greatest bodies of water, so it is like almost impossible for somebody to invade. You don't like wake up in the middle of the night and you're invaded like it can happen in other countries.
Well,
Like
not just that, the majority of California is uninvadable. Like the terrain, just getting on the coast is almost impossible. So you're right.
So all those, yeah, contributed to that, which you give credit to that empire for rising that fast. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now it's,
pretty strategic stuff.
I think it's now desperate in holding its position. That's why we see those actions that we see, because Russia, China, India, they seem to have surpassed the power of the US and the power of the EU. So right now in Europe, we have all the car manufacturers failing, bike manufacturers too. I would say the same would go on in the US, but you no longer have a serious car industry, you know?
Mm.
So China and India are like shooting cars and bikes, like, whew. Even Russia, like you can buy a four-wheeler, fully equipped, fully luxurious with 15K right now in Russia. And in the US and in Europe, you need like 60 to get one, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's what explains these actions that we see, which on the apparent they don't make sense. Like, why would they do that? Because they're pretty desperate to hold the position, and the Venezuelan oil matters in that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have Venezuela and you don't have the Middle East, where do you get the oil from? Your reserves are going to run out. So,
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was an issue of running out as much as it was just controlling the supply and demand. I mean, there's
yeah.
no question it will drive our oil prices down and, then gas prices, but I don't think it's that we were running out, because we have there's one location in Alaska alone that has enough oil to sustain the United States completely for 50 years.
And here's something very annoying about the world that we live in. Even if Europe says, hey, US, I have a gift for you. You ain't gonna have to pay for this. All right? Here's Alaska. Take it. all right? And you take it, Alaska. And then you also take all the oil of Venezuela, and you also take all the oil of the Middle East. Do you think that the cartel would allow your prices to drop, or would they keep the prices where they are and just have more oil to keep feeding you? I mean, you see what I'm saying? Even if they had all the oil in the world, they ain't gonna start making less money out of your need to go to work.
Yeah.
They would
true.
keep it up.
I mean, I'm sure that the actions that have just taken place in Venezuela are related to oil without a question, because from what I've heard, it's either a larger reserve than even Saudi Arabia or it's right under Saudi Arabia, but it's a lot. It's more than
Yeah,
the
and
US has.
Trump is saying it out loud.
The problem, though, is all the equipment that they had for drilling the oil is like 100 years outdated. So it's really bad, crappy equipment. And in order to get any of that oil, we're about to have to drop billions of dollars. Hey, what's up, Jamie?
I made it. Hey guys.
Hey, brother, can you hear us? All righty. That's good. Thank you, Max.
You
To
must have
success.
been out and about in town, huh?
Yeah.
Do you do anything
Yeah.
fun?
I went to the bank.
Did they give you a bunch of money?
They gave me my money.
Yeah, that's no good. Tell them you want more money than what you started with, or no deal.
I don't think they'd go for that.
Probably not. From what I hear, they're
Sure.
like really crazy.
So Jamie, what are your thoughts on the Neanderthal, the Nephilim, what we were talking about, if you heard any? Because this is the subject. Like, we went off talking about Venezuela right now, but I'm trying to roll it back.
So I'm a young Earth creationist,
Amen.
and I think the only defensible position regarding the evidence of where they find Neanderthal remains is that Neanderthals have to be post-flood because of the sort of geography where they find their remains. I think it's only explainable as post-flood. I
Why?
think some of the earliest depictions of Neanderthals are totally ridiculous. I think Neanderthals are absolutely human, and their features are just particular features are attributes that would have been more naturally present with earlier humans, like pre-flood humans who had a stronger gene pool. And so they have larger brain capacity, they have stronger bones. But then there's some things that seem to be something that would be considered less than ideal, but yet they had stronger bones, higher muscle content, larger brain capacity. I think those are holdovers from the better genes of humans earlier in human history. And then because I think of how they find these remains, they have to be post flood. And so I think they were inbred humans after the fall. That is, there are small populations that didn't have genetic variability with greater populations. And that made some of the features prominent, some good, some bad. So I think they were just humans that had particular. Yeah. Does that make sense?
So let me ask, just for the sake of argument, because my opinion is like equal to your opinion. We're sharing opinions here, right? So, but for the sake of argument, so are you saying they survived the flood, or were they part of the 8 that were in the ark?
I think that and I don't need it to be the case, but I think the evidence suggests that we have to interpret it this way if we believe in a worldwide flood, in the biblical timeline. I
We do.
think the defensible position is that this group of people where came after Noah's progeny after the flood because of the geological or archaeological evidence of how they're
Oh,
found.
okay, but
And so I think they have to be human, post flood human, and their anomalies should be explained by inbreeding or something like that, or a limited interaction with a greater gene pool of Noah's progeny.
okay, but the fact that we find them doesn't show us when they died, because they got like buried under layers. The flood would do that. So uh,
Well,
we
so
we
so
read
when you
in Genesis in chapter 6 that this happened, and then we read about the flood. So it makes sense to me that that is part of the reason for the flood.
sure. But when you look at the evidence of like where they're found in the particular layering that they find, I don't accept the timeline of, secular geology. But if we have to interpret the evidence through the lens of a biblical worldview, and so it's hard to defend particular layers
I
as
disagree. I
pre or
disagree.
post flood. So I believe the way where we find where the Neanderthals have been found suggests that they were not found in what we would say would be pre-flood, based on where they're found and the layers that they're found in. I don't accept their timeline, but I think they're found on the surface. They're not deep down, these Neanderthal bones. They appear to be, um, I would argue that it's more likely that they're post-flood, um, because of the layers they're found in. Um,
Okay.
yeah, go ahead.
So our understanding, and Stephen may interrupt me if I said something that he doesn't agree with. Our understanding is that the whole thing with the fossil layers, the fossil record and the strata layers, is they're giving us a wrong impression that it's all like millions of years, but where is the material coming from? So if you had a worldwide flood, the waters would not be stable because of the moon's travel around the earth. We would still have currents, and as the waters would follow the gravitational pull of the moon, it would make sense that there would be layers upon layers and upon layers. So where we find things is not a matter of chronological order, it's a matter of density. The fact that humans are on higher grounds, not humans or Neanderthals or this anything that resembles a human, would be because they would have the brain capacity and the ability to run and climb higher. But then once that high place that they found was that too underwater, they would drown and they would be pulled by the water until they sink, and then some layer will go over them. What I have here is yet one more out of the thousands of evidence that they're not giving us the truth about Let me see this. Can I open this in a new tab? What? I want to open it on a bigger tab. I want to be able to zoom.
There is another possibility, guys. So there's two schools of thoughts with the Nephilim. The first school of thought, and this has been debated for thousands of years now, that when the scripture talks about the sons of God coming down and having children with the daughters of man, the one school of thought is that is angels, and they came and reproduced with women, and they created the Nephilim and led to the race of giants. I fall into that field. That's what I believe. But the other school of thought is that when the scripture says the sons of God came and mated with the daughters of man, it's talking about the sons of Cain mating with the daughters of Adam. So like the corrupt seed versus the incorrupt seed. I don't buy into that, but if the sign that God marked Cain with was to look like a Neanderthal and be a little bit different, it would make sense why we see genetics mixed with Neanderthal in our type of human to what they claim. I mean, what do you guys think?
Okay. I've been listening to you guys for like a couple hours. I have no problem with your interpretation, Stephen. I lean that way. Pardon me. But if you pull up Genesis 6, I lean that, and this came up in my senior Bible class at Arbor Academy. My Adventist tradition didn't have any interpretation of angels mating with humans. I think that's probably what the text says based on how the New Testament quotes the book of Enoch, which I don't think is scripture, but they were quoting it as believing that's what happened, is the ideas that are recorded there in that interpretation of Genesis 6. It was Augustine that modified that view, but the early church certainly believed that it was angels, and certainly sons of God in the Old Testament is applied to angels as well as faithful humans. So I would say it's both, because we see that in the New Testament as well. We are not to be unequally yoked, and so so I agree with your interpretation, Stephen. That seems to be the right interpretation of Genesis 6. But it is still also true in Genesis 6. If you look at it carefully, I mentioned this in a message I put in a while ago. When you look at Genesis 6, God does. I know a lot of people want to say, well, God flooded the earth and killed all the humans because the Nephilim. Well, look, the New Testament, particularly in 1st and 2nd Peter, God's going to judge the earth because of what humans have done, because of the evil of humans of rejecting God. That's not the work of fallen angels, but it's the work of rebellious humans in the image of God. And it's going to be humans that miss out on salvation or thrown into the lake of fire, along with Satan and his angels. And so
it does
let's not.
say, brother, it does say that God flooded the earth because the hearts of men would think of evil constantly, like their minds were on evil all the time. But because
and that grieved God. I don't think it would grieve God if these abominations had to be destroyed. He would want to destroy them, but God's grieved because what his image bearers are doing. I know it's nice and easy to say, well, maybe God just flooded the world because of these abominations that aren't even human or image bearers.
Not just
But the
that.
text is very clear. It's grieving God that his image bearers have become so evil because of what men have done. Men are his image bearers.
Could I
Yes, but
offer? Go ahead.
but we can't ignore what Stephen is bringing up now on Genesis 6, which should be some form of influence towards mankind.
Bingo.
All right.
I think you're both right.
Yeah.
I think that God didn't necessarily destroy the earth because of the Nephilim being here, right? Like God doesn't have to react that that far, but I think there's some truths in first, second, and third Enoch, but especially first Enoch. Like I said, I think it's written down oral tradition, and there may be something to the things that the fallen angels taught us that led to our wickedness. So I'm thinking that there's a reason it talks about the Nephilim and the fallen angels in verse 1 through 4. And then later on, it talks about how the world was so wicked and the hearts of man was full of wickedness constantly, and even their thoughts were constantly wicked. I think there's a direct correlation here. And I think the reason we had become so wicked and the world was destroyed on behalf of our wickedness was from what we learned from the fallen angels.
Yeah, that's my view. But I some people want to like, well, God only destroyed the earth because of the Nephilim. Well, if you mean their influence, okay, fine, I guess. There's several incursions of rebellion, starting with Satan in Genesis, 1 through 3, and then Genesis 6. That's fine, but it's still man's ultimate choice, and it's the man's heart is wicked, and so yeah, they're influenced by things that aren't from God, but rather the fallen angels, and maybe they bred with humans and all that. But let's also consider what Ron Wyatt has shown, and that is that it appears to me, which is an interesting fact, without denying the potential idea that there was hybrids or whatever. That's fine. I'm totally fine with that. I would just say though that it seems to me that Noah was not a Nephilim, but according to Ron Wyatt, he was extremely large. So perhaps we don't need angels. We don't need the angelic hybridization of humans to explain
Giants.
because it seems to me that humans were in fact larger and giant.
Yep. Agree.
And I'm sorry. One thing I wanted to mention to you guys, I've done some major research into the biblical narrative regarding the Hebrew and original calendar. And I would argue that the Book of Enoch cannot be considered scripture for a very important reason. And that is that within the Book of Enoch, which I've shown in my videos and I can send it to you guys, within the Book of Enoch, first Enoch too, by the way, the only one that has any sort of merit to being considered possibly inspired. Yeah, they say in that book, it claims that the proper biblical calendar is a 364 day per year calendar. And that does not fit with what we understand as part of the infallible canon of the 66 books, or let's say what's recorded in the books of Moses. In the books of Moses,
you talking about the agriculture calendar?
Yeah, it cannot correspond with the claim that a biblical year has a particular set number of days in it, which is what Enoch claims, that the true biblical calendar has 364 days every single year. And that also is reflected in the book of Jubilees, which I don't think is the original book of Jubilees mentioned in the Torah, but rather a forgery. Just like I think Enoch is not an original book by Enoch. The fact that Enoch didn't actually write the book of Enoch makes it false for that reason and by itself. But in the book of Enoch, it claims that these Jews that are operating in the first century and prior, Jerusalem, are keeping the wrong calendar. And my research has shown that the Jews were having to modify their calendar by adding a 13th month, 7 out of every 19 years, which they currently still do today, about their way of sighting the moon. But in Exodus, it says that that all the appointed seasons of God's calendar require that, like, the Passover has to be in its season, which has to do with the cycle of seasons, which is based on a solar year. And because a solar year is actually the cycle of seasons, which is the sun going around, or the earth going around the sun. And we know that they had to add extra months or plus or minus a particular amount of days per month. So every so often, and that actually kept the calendar within the range of the seasons. And so so here's my claim. Any calendar that claims there is X amount of days, whether it be 360 or as Enoch or so-called Jubilees claims that this 364 Enochian calendar, every year on the Jewish calendar has 364 days flat. That just does not work, because if that were true, the Passover would have drifted out of the season on a yearly calendar, and then the lambs wouldn't have been born in their season, which required them to be born in a particular season, which has to do with the angle of the Earth's tilt as it travels around the sun. And so that eliminates Enoch as being authentic.
Yeah, we agree on that. Definitely inauthentic. And we said earlier, I don't know if you caught that we had an interview with one of the translators of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And he told us that the Book of Enoch, on a specific question about this, we asked him, what about the Book of Enoch? Do you think it's scripture? Do you think the fact that the Bible tells us that Enoch prophesied, this is his book? And he said that is debatable, because although it is written in Hebrew, we have seen Greek idioms that were not being used by the Jews, but they were used by Greeks, and they are in that book translated in Hebrew. So it tells us, scholars and translators, that this is a forgery. It was some Greek text that was translated to Hebrew. So we've had that from an official translator of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
And that makes sense, because most scholars put the dating for that's one of the major reasons why scholars would say the Book of Enoch was written in the 3 to 200 BC range, which is that would be just prior to Rome being Greece comes before Rome as the power, the world empire that's sort of controlling the world at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were sects of Judaism that had particular beliefs under that world empire. And that's one of the ways that's reflected in why they dated at 250 BC. And so, right. And how about this, guys? Do you think any of the authentic New Testament books, any of them claim to be by an author that didn't actually author the book? So Christians understand that, like, we cannot accept as infallible books that claim to be written by a prophet that existed well before the actual authorship of the book. That's pseudepigrapha writings. Like, Enoch didn't write the Book of Enoch, because we can see culturally that it was written during, like you're saying, during that Greek period of what Greek was the empire in charge, or that was ahead of like what's laid out in Daniel, right? 600 BC, Daniel's talking about how they're in captivity under Babylon, and that the next kingdom would be Medo-Persia, Darius, and then the kingdom after that was Alexander the Great, which is the Greek Empire, and then after that it's the Roman Empire, which is the current empire during the time of Jesus. And so prior to Jesus' birth, according to the biblical timeline, was Greece, and we see that book was written during that time, and the writer of that book claims to be Enoch, which existed pre-flood. So how could some people will try to argue that Enoch actually wrote the Book of Enoch, or at least Enoch 1, and then it got no, guys, that's indefensible. scholarship can show the influence of the time period, which is 3 to 200 BC, which fits what the Bible says is the empire and the succession of empires recorded in actual scripture in Daniel
I
and
agree.
history. Yeah,
I
okay.
agree with almost everything you said. The reason I say almost is because there might be something I disagreed with, but I don't remember it. But I agree, and I see that it is very easy for the deceptive enemy, because Satan is the master of deception, to find that quote in the Bible that says Enoch prophesied, and then create a book based on that and say, look, it's in the Bible, so it has to be true. No, because the Bible is not telling us that that's the book. It would be preserved by God for us. So examining the book of Enoch, I see something that doesn't exist in the rest of the Bible. I see something that doesn't exist in the book of Enoch that exists all over the Bible. And that is God's judgment. It just goes on and on about specifics, about angels, about the fallen angels, creating this I'm sorry
I'm not
for
saying everything in there is false. And I see Iron Matt's comment. But if you read Enoch, it's claiming the narrative is like Enoch is like dictating what he's seeing as though it's Enoch saying it. And so it's different than Samuel and some of the Old Testament prophets.
yeah,
Not the same thing.
but I've met people that are so into the book of Enoch, but they will not touch the Bible.
Yeah, I
Because
know. It's like learn the book of Revelation in its proper context before you try to like bring the book of Enoch to us,
right.
please. Thank you.
So what the book of Enoch carries for those people is, I'm trying to find the right word, what a movie would have to keep you captivated into it, like not drama, but a plot, like something to keep you entertained with details that are not going to save your soul. What will save
Yeah,
your
yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing. Enoch was clearly known to the New Testament writers.
Right.
The book of Revelation, I've mentioned this before. There's no doubt that John used even structural parts of Enoch in describing his personal visions in the book of, and I saw Satan falling like heaven. You know, that imagery comes, that language and that textual structure, he uses Enoch's textual structure in describing his literal visions in the book of Revelation.
I'll ask this. I'll ask this because of that, what you said. How do you know that it's not because of the book of Revelation that this book was written to match it? Because in the book of Revelation, we see symbols that we can go back and find them in the Old Testament. In Daniel, the beasts are exactly the same as Daniel describes them. The horses are in Zechariah. Yes. Ezekiel, I'm sorry. And Zechariah. And there are
Right.
other
I agree.
symbols, and the rest of the New Testament, including especially the things that Jesus says, can always be found in the Old Testament when he says, don't you know that this is written? We always find it. And there is not a single quote that would show us that there is a book that we're missing. Like, it's not, Jesus is never saying, don't you know that the angels have done this and that? Never.
Well,
we never see
no,
that.
No, absolutely. So I would say the only defensible position based on scholarship, we certainly know that Enoch was written before the New Testament.
Well,
and there's no doubt.
Okay.
At least
First Enoch
Yeah.
Time of the
and again, I'll assert John uses literary structures from Enoch in describing his literal visions that I believe he actually had. So how do we explain this? Some people would, an atheist would say, well, he's just plagiarizing Enoch and it's fake.
No, I would
And
explain it the other way. I would explain it the other way around. But those.
Sure, yeah. So let me finish my point. My only point is this: this is not a problem. So let's think of it like if I was to say, if I'm experiencing a vision from God, and I know everybody's familiar with the movie The Matrix, and I was like, hey, Jesus is the one. He's the one. Because I know everybody knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
He's the one that's come into this reality, and he has all power and control. And so I'm going to use the language of a thing that everybody's familiar with in the culture so that they understand what I'm trying to say about who Jesus is. That doesn't make the Matrix canonical historical truth. It simply is using the structure of something I know everybody loved the book of Enoch in the first century. Doesn't make it scripture. Quoting from it or using its literary structure does not make it infallible or even scripture. It simply is using what people love and are familiar with to tell a narrative that they can understand.
Okay, but because I believe that the Book of Enoch is forgery, straight up. I think that because we have a timeline for it around 200 after Christ, the Book of Revelation was written by John, who didn't live for 200 years. Therefore, it is not John that is quoting from the Book of Enoch. It is some smart guys that took the language that John was using and created a forgery, which is the Book of Enoch.
But if I could say, though, it is true that in the book of Jude, it quotes Enoch also. But Paul quoted pagan poets in Acts 17, and even Moses he quoted Egyptian sources. So I think Jamie has a point about just it wasn't out of the realm of possibilities for the men in the Bible to quote something that was well known. But also, the first book of Enoch goes, if we date it, somewhere about 250 to 300 BC. It's the only one of the three that were in existence even at the time of Jesus. The other two come after. And what's interesting is the first book of Enoch, it dates right around the exact same time we see another book come into existence, which is known as the Book of Adam and Eve.
Yeah, everything I'm saying is a very conservative interpretation, and a lot of false people are like, oh, if they quoted from the Book of Enoch, it means they're making stuff up or they're plagiarizing. Not true. That's not how reality works. And again, before I go, I'll just say this. If I gave you a sermon and I'm giving you 100% truth from the Holy Spirit, and I use something that's culturally relevant, and we scholarship knows that the Book of Enoch, particularly Enoch 1, was highly beloved as a story. Remember, they don't have movies and stuff like that. Story is highly intriguing, right? I don't accept it as infallible, but the people at that time were very familiar with it. That's why we see it in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It does not undermine the validity of the actual canon of the New Testament. It simply means that they did the same thing then that we do today, and they use things that are relevant in the cultural context of people, in the zeitgeist, you could say, of and to drive home a point, just like we do with analytical theology or whatever, or making it's just like if I was to make a cultural reference to a movie that everybody's familiar with and say the reality of this is that sort of thing is actually true in the Messiah. And so it would drive the point home to the culture. Paul does that with Philo. It doesn't make Philo's writings scripture, And the use of any sort of structure or concept that was familiar to the culture being incorporated in the New Testament in no way validates the validity or the canonicity of the text that's being utilized. And that's a common thing I see from people all the time. Oh, he quoted from the Book of Enoch, and therefore the Book of Enoch scripture. That is not at all true. It's not how reality works. It's just bad thinking.
Well,
But hey, guys, God bless.
God bless. I mean, what we see play out is actually just apologetics 101. In the same way we see Dr. James White quoting the Quran whenever he's witnessing to Muslims, Paul quotes he quotes pagan sources to drive home a point. Jude referenced the Book of Enoch to drive home a point. Moses referenced Egyptian sources to drive home a point. And Achilles, even you and I, we've pulled up standardized textbooks before to point out the inconsistencies with evolutionists. So, I mean, it's a great tool for apologetics. We just like to think that, you know, our century invented it, and that's not the case.
Yeah. I guess this show was a wild ride, but I hope viewers found it interesting. I know that these discussions are what interest me. I hope it's the same for others as well.
Amen. Krista told me today that we have got to finish Job.
I mean, don't we?
Yeah, because we've only got 4 chapters left. I told her
And
you and I might knock it out backstage and then upload it.
It's gonna be one show.
Yeah.
But again, we did our job. We did our part. You know, these 4 final chapters have been addressed by so many pastors in the past. But just so we have it completed, let's get through them. But our job was to point out that there was something wrong with Job, and not many pastors are talking about it. They present him as this super righteous person, and God ran a bet with Satan, and that's not the case. I mean, it's close to the truth, but not the exact truth. So we did that by reading through the whole thing verse by verse. The book itself reveals that the Job story is a little more complicated than a fully righteous man and God testing him. Now, he had a pride issue, and it showed. Still, yes, we gotta finish it. So let's talk about that backstage.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. It was a little sporadic and a little all over the place, but how do you even do an episode on Nephilim and Neanderthals? It was kind of crazy to start with. And you have definitely got to go check out the book of Job, because we reveal something in the book of Job that none of your pastors have ever shown you. And it's something that can actually change your entire life. And it's such a simple truth. It's that when Job